Okay.
Okay, well, I'm Erin, and this is Ryan, and we're with clayking.com. And I'm going to show Ryan today how to use the Shimpo mini slab roller, and the Shimpo Aspired wheel, and the Shimpo Hump molds. And we're going to make a bowl and a plate today. So, first thing you need to do is roll your slab. So we're using this clay here. It's a stoneware clay body. And it's nice to start out with a slab a little thicker than what you need. So we're just going to go ahead and cut straight out of the bag using this little wire tool. And you want to make sure that the slab roller isn't set at the desired thickness right off the bat, because you won't be able to roll it through. So I've got it starting here at 3/4 of an inch. And there's measurement guides on each side of the roller here. So that's ready to go. So I'll just take, I'll take this, and you have 2 pieces of canvas, and you put it in between, so you pound it down a little bit so it'll get started through, and put it right up at the edge of the canvas. And then put the other piece of canvas over top of that. Kind of butt it up against the rollers, and then it has just a nice little crank handle here. And whoopsies. That doesn't always happen. Let's see. And then we're just going to roll it through. So the nice thing about this slab roller is that you can use it when you're in a situation with limited space, like Ryan here. Just graduated from college and with a ceramics degree, right, Ryan?
Yeah. BFA.
And he doesn't have room for a big slab roller in his house, so this is something that he could use at home. So now I'm going to lower it down again a little bit more, because I'm going for about 1/4 of an inch slab for this bowl. It's not very big in this plate, so you really just need to do 2 or 3 passes through. So here we go again. It's a little longer than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So you can kind of take the slab and readjust it here. And now for our final pass, I'll go ahead and lower it. You just take these, disengage it, put it down at 1/4 of an inch, tighten it up, and then we'll go ahead. It's kind of tricky once it's, let's see, down a little too. There we go. And then we'll roll that through, and this will be the last time we have to go through. Perfect. So, now, just put it there for a second. Just move that down, so now we have some table space left. And there's our lovely slab. So, some people like to keep the canvas, some people don't. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the canvas, so you can just take a rib and smooth it out. Like that. I wouldn't use a lot of water, because then it'll really stick to your plaster mold, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not really necessary to have the clay super wet. You don't even really need to use a lot of water with this whole process, which is nice. Especially if you're using a home studio. The clay does have a tendency to clog the pipes, doesn't it? Yeah. So, now that we have our slab, I'm not going to worry about the other side with the canvas, because we are going to cut. Okay, go ahead. I'm doing a demo, so you can go through. Sorry. Just a minor thing. I'm just going to pick back up with...
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. Alright, so with at this point we're not going to worry much about the canvas on the other side because that's going to be the top side of the mold, and I'll be smoothing that out. So first thing we do, there's a bat adapter thing for the Shimpo Hump molds that they have, and it fits the Aspire pottery wheel, which is what I'm using right here. This is a tabletop model. So you can just take it, there's holes, and put that on that wheel head there. And now this is ready to fit the bowl hump mold right here. It's just made out of plaster. So I'm just going to use this, put it right here, take a pin tool, which I have right over here, and just trace around just so I know that I'll have enough clay here to cover it. So there's that, and now there's holes here on each end, and I'll just attach those. They fit right on this adapter. Okay, and then we can take our little template piece here, lay it over the bowl. This is like a drape mold technique. So drape it over this here. That fits great. And now just going to get rid of the canvas texture. And this is operated by a foot pedal, which is on the ground. And I'm just going to use this wheel to make the mold turn so I can do some nice little decoration on the underside of this bowl. So I can also take a rib just to kind of further compress it so it really sticks down on that plaster so it takes the shape, doesn't warp up when it dries. And then you might be worried about the rim, whether or not that's level. If you want to make it really even and level, you can just take your pin tool and mark a spot and hold it in the same spot and let the wheel do the work. Just stay there. Take this off, this excess here. Okay. Just throw that scrap over there. You can use the scrap later for something. And smooth up the edge. Okay. Like that. So now that we have this, you have options what you can do with the foot. You can make little feet, just make little balls and put them on there to have sort of like a footed pot with individual feet, or you can actually use a coil and kind of throw a foot up on the bottom, and that's what I'm going to do with this one. So I'll just take my hand and find the center, make a couple little guidelines there, and using just some of the scrap clay left over from the slab that we rolled earlier, I'm just going to roll a nice little coil here. I'm not going to make a really large foot, so I don't need a lot of coil. But using the guidelines then, I'll just go ahead and score it where I'm going to attach that coil. So just kind of rough it up a little bit. The clay's really soft, so I don't really need to use any slip at this point. And take this, go ahead and just wrap that around, cut it, okay. And I'll just use my fingernail here to attach this. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing on the inside. And then I'll just use the wheel to help me throw this foot on here, turn the wheel on. So we'll just do that. And then you can kind of find that. You do sort of have to compress it and center that foot, the coil, unless you're like a super expert coil roller. Or you could extrude your coil, of course. That would be even better. But today we're just focusing on the molds. Extruders next week with Ryan, right? Okay, so there's our little foot. And now if you want to get really crazy with it, there's all kinds of texture tools that you can use to... Does that look right? Yeah, that's okay. There's all kinds of texture tools. We sell tons of them here. But just for instance, this is just a simple little roller that we use, that we sell. And we could just do, say, I don't know, maybe right here in the middle. So just use the wheel, take the roller, press it down. And that'll just give the bowl a little texture on the side to pick up the glaze and just kind of break up that space a little bit. And that's it. So now what you might want to do is cover it up with plastic, let it dry really slow because the plastic does absorb pretty fast, and when it absorbs it shrinks, the clay does. So it will crack if you don't cover it. So stop that, and then this will just pop right off. And you can set that aside. And the next thing we're going to make is a little 7.5-inch plate. And now this is the bottom of the plate. So you can see there's a foot and a little side rim. Same thing as before, you just take it. Well, first we have to cut out our slab. And I'm going to make it a little extra big. And I'll just trim it down. So once you have that, just take your mold and stick it on your bat adapter. And go ahead and take your slab, pick it up. You can just lay it right down on there. And go through the process again. We'll take the sponge, have a damp sponge, spin it around to sort of get that clay to really form to the plaster mold underneath. And then take a pin tool. Go ahead, I'll just go ahead and butt it up against the mold. Turn the wheel. That'll create that nice even rim. And you can go ahead and smooth that out. And you could do the same thing here as we did with the bowl. You could take a roller, or you could take stamps, or you could take fabric and sort of press it down to get a texture on this. But I think with this one I'm just going to leave it. I am going to throw a little, I'm going to make a little bigger foot for the bottom of this plate so it doesn't just sit super flat on the table. So I find right here is where the desired foot will go. So same thing. I'll just score that and roll the coil. So I'll just take some more clay. Actually, I don't really, yeah, this is fine. You can just take, it's soft enough to kind of, just want to be careful there isn't a bunch of air bubbles in there. And roll it. You can make a really big coil, it doesn't matter because you can always trim it down. So I would err on the side of more than less at this point. Alright, so then you can just take that, stick it on the bottom. Here. And this is really a fast process, so if you have a lot of plates you need to make in a hurry and they need to be the same size, this is great. Because it's pretty hard to throw consistently sometimes. So now that I have a little extra clay built up here, I'll go ahead and start just throwing this foot up. they're rolling it up. So just center it. And be careful not to press down too much because you end up getting a thin spot. And then as it's drying, if there's a weak spot or the clay thin and thickness isn't the same, it might crack right there where it's thin. So just be careful when you're compressing the foot that you're not pushing down and thinning out the initial slab that we had on there. So I'd say that's pretty good for a foot. So last thing we'll do here is just smooth it out so it's going to take the glaze nice and smooth. And later after it dries, you can, when it's about leather hard, you can take it off and alter the rim and kind of round that out. Just flip it over and put it on your bat and smooth it out. So that would be the underside of a little plate, 7.5 inch, using the Shimpo Hump molds and the Aspire and the Shimpo mini slab roller. Okay. Is that good?